I think we.
Yes.
I
Sorry.
think with the other way.
Yes. Sorry for that. Sorry for that. Very quickly, I've been on stage with Namya. It's always inspiring to see her and then Prateek and Shlok. Satya, as I look at all the stories that they say, I go back to school. It brought me back to school. And I started thinking about what was I doing in school or college, nowhere close to the three of them. If you go back to your school days, what are the memories that you would have from that?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the three young innovators, and I had a chance even to meet some of the students who, presented their AI projects. And I, in fact, went to a middle school very close, close to here. Bharati Vidyabhavan in Kasturibai Gandhi Mart, and I must say, Namya has inspired me to go back to middle school and start my education all over again. But when I look back, one of the things that perhaps most shaped my own thinking about what is learning is my father used to always say, look. Be focused on the process versus the destination. I never understood it growing up. I never, perhaps even listened to him as closely as I should have. But when I look back, he gave me room. Both my parents gave me tremendous, my mother and my father, who were very academically accomplished. And truth be told, I was not. And yet they never made me feel not confident, and especially not confident to not learn. And that, I think, is what it is. Like, they gave me I remember, like, even the summer holidays, to be able to go read whatever you were passionate about. And that, and it was mentioned by a lot of the innovators. It's that passion, it's that curiosity that sustains you. If sometimes, things come easy, you sort of forget that that's just a gift you were given. But it's when you go persist beyond sort of the gifts that were bestowed is when I think real learning happens. But it's, I must say, it has been, growing up in India, going to schools in Delhi and in Hyderabad, I look back at those days even today. And they're very formative, and how I think my worldview was shaped by both my teachers, my friends and colleagues, from those days.
So I'm just again reflecting back on what at least my generation and your generation did in terms of learning. We learned how to use technology. And you look at the generation today, they use technology to learn because technology is native to them. It's a big mind shift. And I think it really also relates to the Microsoft culture of growth mindset. So if you now reflect back, you spoke about your parents. So both students and parents, how should they think about this relationship between learning and technology?
It's a great way the way you phrased it is very interesting. Learning about technology versus using technology to learn, I think it's a great way to even reformulate, I think, our relationship with both technology and learning. One of the things that I feel we will have to do as a society broadly, because I do fear, in today's world, there is so much abundance of devices in our lives and content in our lives that perhaps what is scarce is that human attention. I think a lot about what does deep work look like, right? I mean, when was the last time I could get lost in one of those Russian authors for hours together? And is that, how important is it? I mean, the people who are educationalists will probably have to opine on it. But I feel that there needs to be more of a balance. And Namya's story is an amazing example of that, a balance between what I would call consumption and creation. I will go back. It's like, in fact, in Microsoft, you always have, are you a PowerPoint first or are you Word first? You have to have the balance. Sometimes being able to tell the story is important. Sometimes to write down the thoughts is important. And the same thing with Minecraft. The fact that Namya was able to first enjoy the game, learn, in fact, effectively programming through playing the game, because, by the way, that's one of the things that we are very excited about is Minecraft happens to have the ability to attract young middle school girls into STEM education and computer science as a pedagogical tool, and that's exciting to see. But then she turned it around and said, okay, what if I now can create lessons? What if I can create learning paths for others? In fact, teach the teachers, teach other students who are 13-year-old. I mean, that is the balance between, I'll call it consumption and creation, that I think is going to be a real currency. If you overdo just consumption and don't take the time to create, what's the artifact that you created? That I think is going to be something that we will all have to pay a lot of attention to.
No, I completely agree. As in, we saw the 3 innovators just now, inspiring. And just
Absolutely.
before that, you met with 3 school teams, so impressive in the kind of challenges that they were tackling. How do you see the inspiration and the guidance that you would have for these young innovators to solve the biggest challenges that are facing the planet today?
Yeah, I mean, in the last couple of days, one of the things that's been very exciting to me on this trip to India was meeting a lot of young entrepreneurs in Bangalore yesterday, and today the young innovators here. The quality of their ideas, and more importantly, their scope of their ambition. There was a group that I met just talking about how they want to change speech therapy. And it also, the level of empathy. They worked with one of the teachers who has a kid with special needs, with speech issues, and said, let's go build essentially an AI tool that can actually substitute for what a speech therapist, because the access to speech therapy and speech therapists is scarce. And to have someone who has a group of students who have that deep passion, deep empathy, and then can turn it into action. That's what innovation is all about. That's how societies and economies move forward. And I see it at scale. Again, I think a lot about accessibility deeply. Yesterday, I had a chance to meet someone who was really working on this exoskeleton robot. And those are the kinds of things that are just phenomenal. Like even the other student group that I saw this morning is building a tool, in fact, for air pollution detection, right? And they were educating me on how, by using the sensors, building this database, the population then is empowered to be able to have data inform them, and then be able to take action as both individuals and community. There was another group I met who talked about sort of their conversational agent. In fact, I was thinking, let me put those 2 groups together, the one who was working on as well as conversational agents, because that might be the speech therapist bot. So the quality of ideas, the ambition, the scope, but more importantly, that deep empathy for people around them. And to be able to use that to turn it into action is great to see.
No, so thank you so much, Satya. I know we are running out of time, but I do want to do 4 lightning questions for you, and I'm sure a lot of people will enjoy those questions.
Yeah, this is the scary part.
So this is going to be very quick and rapid fire as we go. Favorite subject in school?
History.
Wow. Okay, now that's something that a lot of people here wouldn't have guessed. Okay, if you had one superpower, what would it be?
One superpower. If I could read all the books I bought, I would be so much better off.
Okay, this one is
That's an AI problem, by the way.
Okay.
So that's why I'm excited about natural language progress, because that's what I need.
Okay, the next one is a tough one. Virat Kohli or Sachin Tendulkar?
God, this is like picking religions. I would say Sachin yesterday, Virat today.
Okay, so now that's an answer that all of you can remember. I couldn't have answered it that way. Finally, cricket or coding?
Coding for cricket. I mean, I had a chance to meet. I had a chance to meet yesterday Anil Kumble, and he has a startup, and Anil is an engineer by profession, I guess by education. By profession, he's a cricketer. But he's got a startup. He's got actually an IoT sensor that he's going to put on a bat. And then yesterday, in fact, he was kind enough to let me take one of his balls and hit it for a 6, which is the only time I got to do it in life and live my dream. But nevertheless, I mean, coding, you know, the one thing that I would say is coding is perhaps one of these most liberating of exercises. It's sort of a classic example of deep work. Whenever I look back at it, it is a malleable, changeable resource. And I think learning coding, and yesterday I also had a chance to meet a doctor, you know, who runs Narayana Health, Dr. Devi Shetty. And I was asking him, as a medical doctor, he's using technology to really transform how he thinks about patients, how he thinks about patient care, health outcomes, and costs. But the thing that really inspired me is to think about how coding needs to become such a core skill, irrespective of whether you are in computer science, or you're in medicine, or guess what, even history, because or in literature. I always think of coding is like poetry. It's just compact expression. So I think coding can inspire you in both liberal arts as well as in sciences to really make a difference.
So maybe I should have asked cricket or coding or poetry, but thank you so much, Satya. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Avi.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Satya.